Yep, that's Wednesday updates. Synopsis 9, the untold story of my memories of 1985. The 23rd of November, mwaliriddawa abaaliwo abaali bazaaliddwa ebiseera. I was in primary 5 people, Nabagamba, and I was at Uganda Road Primary School. We've had a 10-part series, or you call them episodes, of this, I would call it a randomized discussion, tunyumya, because I'm not reading off things off print, or I'm just recounting my memories. And we've had this journey from synopsis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 today. So we have one more. Do you get me? Very interesting, very interesting. And a lot of things have unraveled. So what I'm trying to mean that because it's drawing from memories many years ago, you kind of get lost in this journey, hence this a synopsis. Before, it's just brief memories, but recounted and then narrated. And we already know what really happened on the 23rd and what was going on at that time. So, very many unexplained things, especially being the age that I was. I was in my primary 5. Primary, what do you know in primary? To be honest with you, I was not naive, because I was always in the forefront. My dad and my mom always had me more or less like a poster child. Mukitega kye bagamba buli kimu ekyabeerangawo ne kibeerangamu, era nga bampita musika wa kyanda kyanda atambula n'omusika we. Mukitega kye mbagamba. That's what people knew about me. Era bangi nnyo to date tebaali surprised okulaba byonna ebyaddira later on. Mutabani wa kyanda ali London, tekyewuunyisa. Naye ati kunze, it wasn't something that I had sat down and thought about. I was much more in my own world. Ngamba coming to the diaspora here in the UK, tekyali anything like, I was already a billionaire. I was managing Paramount Investments and Entertainment with a portfolio of about 200 staff, 10 branches. I was in investments. I was okay at my age, 24, 25, 26, 27. So my coming to the UK was a love story. I've told you that. I was in love with this beautiful person. She's telling me about going to London, and I'm like, you're going to London, and in case you don't come back. And that's how it comes about. YMCA, I'm going to give you that story of YMCA and the romance on KQ flight, Kenya Airways hostesses and everything. There are many stories along that way, Then I come here, then I return back to Uganda, then I come back to study. My coming to study here had been on the premise that it was something that was always talked about at home. Omwana mugezi nnyo ajja kusomera London. He's very bright, he's always, blah, 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 blah. I was always expected to achieve better than anybody else. And that, I explained it well in the previous chapters. Ninawe nabagamba nti my mom hadn't had a privileged background. She really had an upstart in life when she met my dad. Era my dad yamuzaayo okusoma. Mukitegera bino biri relevant mu synopsis kubanga nawe ngenda okubi explainingira. So she got married when she was young and had me when she was young. So more or less, buli kimu era akirabira mu nze. I was living her life, you know, and I was pretty much not expected to do any better. Can you imagine that situation? It was a tough one, but I had that upper hand and I was always guided. So let's begin this summation, because we are more or less summarizing everything we have talked about previously. We've learned that Express was founded on the premise of the media at the time. The Uganda Express newspaper, something on those lines. And then Jolly John Ebanne batandika okuzanya omupiira w'ekatwe and everything. That's 1957, pre-independence period. So post-independence, we have the club taking on, you know, laying its foundation, you know, into the mainframe, you know. Baby beera ekintu kitandika okukula naye byonna ebizze ebi happening eventually after independence na influence y'amaanyi. I would call that ramifications, that by 1977 Express Football Club is banned by the government following a humiliating defeat. Sorry guys, it's gonna rain here, man. Man, I've got to cut this video. Sorry guys, should I cut it now? It's drizzling. Kakati, whatever was going on at the time eventually pushes Express to the woodworks. Baji banning club ekola comeback mu 80s naye bwekubirawo comeback mu 80s nga already club eriwo ey'amaanyi ye ya KCC y'ababilionia. Mufuna bulungi, this is going to be the collusion course mu 85 nga amaze okujjako obote kiraba. Kakati abadde bambuuza ekya syndicate eyo, because we're not talking about the politics, nze siri mu discussion ya politics, naye abamu bali lost bagamba naye kegusente zoyogerako zaabulira wa zaalaga wa zaali zigenda mu biki ebyo. You're talking of a lot of money. If your dad could even lose a stake in Pepsi Cola, could lose a stake in UPET, man nabagamba mzee wange yali mafuta ogamba UPET, mukita UPET yagalimu Uganda Petroleum and never never. I don't want to put names. Wanga you katuchireke wetutyo nenga abali mafuta distribution omuku mzee kati stake zina bichuka mu 85 because we're not going into 86. What happens after is another story altogether. It's another story that I don't want even to go into. Nagala kustickinga kuki kumupiira gwaffe gwe twele twogerako. Our football is our football. Based on my memories, byanzijukira on that very day when I attend the football match with my dad. Kyenalabako na kivubu. It left a lot of lingering questions. Is because there was a fever pitch frenzy in the stadium. The pressure could be felt by the pin drop. KCC yayingira ekisaawe, Express neyingira ekisaawe. Munfuna bulungi nnyo. Ne government yaliko nabo ne bayingiza baleeta b'official bonna. I think it was like it turned into like a political arena, you know what I mean? Now the pressure begins to mount with all the situation that was going on in the country. Express had to deliver a decisive win kyembagambe kyali kigenda mu maaso. I attended the match. I remember that day. Twava ku KCC Club House awo waggulu awo ku wali Centenary Bank ya Mwempe, the new building. But twakedde dda. The match had to begin at around 2 p.m. afternoon. By 4 o'clock, kick off. We've taken the emipiira, and it was the final now. Decisively during the playoffs, Muzita playoffs, but team bonna express wejje knocking off. There is suspicion that sente ziri mu kutambula mu mupiira, bali mu kugula bu team, because my uncle, of course, Uncle Patrick Chiwanuka, had been elected vis-a-vis appointed. Kubanga it was nominated that he should be the chairman, and then it had to be contested because Express yali yeyawulamu ng'erimu enjuuyi n'enjuuyi, wankulukuku sujei katwe wa yonna. You know, these things happen because minus all that, Villa Jogo yali Express. Do you see where I'm coming from? Kakati ngolo mpira wawe ne Kawoya naye, he had crossed over from Express, Patrick Kawoya, n'atandika Villa nga bagita Nakivubo Boys. Nakivubo Boys prior to that was the youth team of Express. That's how Express had been organized. Nga balina youth team mwe bajja abazanya mu top league. So with the ban of Express in 77, everything changes hands. All the people who are in charge of the club go to exile. And ceremoniously, Jolly Joe is murdered as well. So what I'm trying to bring here is football has its tentacles in the political stratosphere. Chaba billionaire, when they decisively sit down mu meeting, the Nabagambia yali ku Lord's pub, waliwo kipaabu awo Kaleerwe, abagaga gye banyweranga. Of course, one was at Wandegeya, Paris Bar. Amujjukira ebifo bino, Paris Bar. Then waliwo Messi Hotel, wali ku Shero, Makerere High, Shero what? Masses Hotel. Kyekimu ne Lions Hotel ku Namirembe Road yabasekalaala. Lwakuba saagala kuteeka mannya mu mboozi eno, naye ba billionaire meeting Benzi zaasimba okuva eno n'eri. Mzee wange, as always, atama ne mutabani we anzija ku ssomero, oba mami wange anzija ku ssomero, naye ukosi bonna baavuganga Benz, so you couldn't tell which was which. Zonna za same color. UVK 869 yali Benz ya mami. UVK yali enamba yaliko ebiseera ebyo, then eya mzee yali WV Z321, yeah, UWV 230 class, yali 180 class. Era meeting eyo nalaba ku byali bigenda mu maaso, naye sisobola kutegeera bingi nnyo ebyali bigenda mu maaso, but nali ndaba kubanga eventually ekyaddako sente zajja awaka ennyingi ennyo mu bikutiya ne basiteeka mu kabox. Twalina room eringa strong room ku nyumba ku side nga tukayita kabokisi. Later on it becomes my bedroom. Nga ntuuse mu senior 2, senior 3 awo, senior 2 twali kyebando, yeah. So by the 23rd, the arena had become politicized. But what I struggled to understand, nti singa abaite bajjeeko obote on the 27th of July 1985, bino nti byandibaddewo, kubanga Uncle Patrick yayingira ekintu ekyamusitula this is very complicated. Kati fe abakulidde mu sente tukiraba. I could see this pressure mounting on my dad. Eyali mu businesses ze, on top of being a patron supporter of KCC, naye because they had the interests to protect. Mwalaba ku lutalo lonna ne Uganda awo. Entalo zenzijukira. Let me give you this one. Nzijukira 1979. Sabasaba ba. Mmanyi bwe yali ekubira. Baali bagimauntize ku Summit View Kololo. Nze nali mu swimming as a kid, kindergarten and all that. From afternoon when navanga nga batwala mu kindergarten wali okusoma. Okusoma then swimming someplace. Bintu ne bitandika okubwatuka saba. Okay, there had been mounting tension because the invention of Tanzania, Kagera, binene byalinga mawulire nga babyogerako abazeeya, things like that. But whatever was going on, the battle was coming towards the capital city. Kampala is like the melting pot. People don't have a sense of bearing about what happens outside Kampala nga Uganda. Back in the day, kati twogera ku bibuga, okiraba kakati ba elite abali bo like with a lot to lose baddukirawo era bwe kibeera abalina a lot to lose be basooka okudduka the elite. Ffe twaddukira Kenya ne bagamba twalinnya Kafoka awo Kololo airstrip Embakasi e Nairobi etwasibira kati olwo omuzeeyi bali yalina connections nyingi nnyo. Of course Kenya yali akitegeera bulungi nnyo. He had very many connections there, very many good friends abaali ku mbaga yaabwe gye ne bagamba mu 72. That wedding that came back to Uganda and became the wedding of the year, ne President Idi Amin n'abeera influence naye okukola embaga mu 75 during the OAU summit. Ate eyo omukyala Sarah Kioraba yali mukwano gwani gwa mami wange. For the brief years she was the first lady. That gives my mom very big access ku bintu bingi nnyo n'alinnya kakati. Because when she finishes her course and comes back, then she enters the administration, civil service and all that. She really was the first lady of a billionaire, Nagaga. Kati oyo answer yajjanga nako n'awaka oyo. Okay, after the overthrow of Idi Amin, the rest is history. Naye wano kulonda nafunako chance omulaba abambi. Namulako koko wano nga nze London. Yes, Aunt Sarah. Now, olutalo olulala lwenzijukira lwe 85 lwe nabagamba era mu synopsis nti okujjako oba overthrowing Obote kwatandikira mu whispers. But I think they used to tell us that President abeera mu Nile Mansions. Gye bamusanga nti he was always drunk, nti yanywanga whisky mungi nnyo. Kyenyinza okutegeera awo abantu abaali mu control twawuliranga mannya sijui Prime Minister Temali Madi, twawuliranga mannya sijui ba Ibrahim Waligo. There were many names, but remember the cabinet was more or less like the government. Kakati amagye galabika galaba loopholes nyingi nnyo. Once you see, it's like seeing a lame duck, and that's an easy meal. You always go for the loose hanging fruit. You know what I mean? So we to be byalinga naye baaluutinga Kampala, baayokya ebizimbe Kampala awo. Kiraba mu 85 kubanga nzijukira muzeeyi yagenda ku dduuka awo Nabugabo muyitawo bannakivubo kati erina amaduuka ne dipo eya Pepsi Cola weba distributing bakumyeko omuliro. You know, people like savagely, you know, how do you do something like that? Then people had this anger, you know, and that is the closest memory I remember about 85. Naye mu class P5 netulaba stampede ebweru abana by the end of the day. But prior to that waberangawo roadblocks nyingi. 85 had begun more or less like twalina state of emergency nga roadblock nyingi nnyo buli wamu kubanga nzikuka twali tulekeddeawo n'okugenda ku farm. We had a farm in Kakiri, Kamuli mixed farm, a very it was like a demo gyensookera okulaba ebyuma ebikama amata ente. It was a demonstration farm. Nanti muzeeyi yali asomera gundi cooperatives nga bisomedde gundi Yugoslavia gyabatwaleeyo mu Russia 65 and 66 67. Nanti nabagamba twali tuyingiridde ekintu kyaki ky'abakomunisiti, common man's charter people, man bina bikomawo mu 85 nti kakati gavumenti yaliwo yali more or less set nti eri mu bantu mayumba 10 mwefuga, you know. Era Museveni naye ebyo yakozesa ebyo ebya RC mu bijjukiro ebyo, you know, 10-point program byonna tubijjukira. Mujjukira akatabaako mama wange yakalina aka 10-point program nanti yali ayingidde ebya politics n'asoma ebya kada yakola ki naye ebyo tetujja bigendamu nnyo because tuli kapiira anyway. Kati tukomewo Uncle Patrick kyenyinza okuspeculatinga nti Express yali tied into ebya UPC. Are we together there? Mulaba colors za UPC zali, is it red? Express red. Kati kirabika nga mulimu abamusindikiramu ebintu byabwe bya political agenda kyenabagamba nti to bring peace in the country between that period of July after the overthrow. Akapiira ke kagattawo. It was joined by football. Because me, I can't see any other reason from my research what really necessitated such a cup final to be of that stratosphere. But from testament of my presence there, kyenyinza obbagamba nti nze nalabako ekyali mu kisaawe n'ebyali bigenda mu maaso. So that is the synopsis as it is in reflection. Kiraba nti kyalimu ssente, kyalimu babiliyonia, kyalimu ne syndicate. So the question is, was the decisive win of 3-1 a buyout? Baagula kigule? Come on guys, tell me man. Tubeere honest kubanga tuguba mupiira. Bazanya gwa kifiiriza Express. Express bagiwe walk over. So, but that was testing my father's friendship with Uncle Patrick. As childhood friends, basomye bonna, bagaggawadde bonna, mu bulamu bwe baalimu nga bavubuka bato, because they were young. If I can go back, 85, my dad was 39, Uncle Patrick was 38. Akiraba, naye kati ebintu bye baali bakola, what level they were at. Kati n'ebyali bigenda maaso ebyana mu Uganda bye tetujja, of course waaliwo olutalo lwayo lugenda maaso, mulumanyi the guerrilla war ya Museveni. Nze Museveni namulabako personally, nawe namulaba, twalina bazeeyi baffe balina gye bagenda eyo ne ku faamu eyaffe kiri n'ekapeeka eyo 99 ye waalinga olutalo. So we pretty much were insiders. Ku byali bigenda mu maaso mu lutalo, kiraba n'abalala bonna ye synopsis chapter gye saayagala gendamu nnyo ku bya Kabaka mu 1985. It is the same year the Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi returns back to Uganda. The story is told differently from whoever is telling it. Naye emboozi baaginyumyanga tuli awo. Even the plans were made nga tuwulira. Kiraba? Uncle Patrick yali atambula, yali ajjanga e London eno. Okiraba? So that means he had access to the Kabaka. Era ne bye baayogeranga, bamanyi bye baayogeranga. And he was a connecting factor. Kubanga n'ekyamukomyawo. Of course, there had to be this alliance to bring people on the side of Museveni, bamuwagire, bakole bibali bakola olutawo luggwe to bring peace in the country. Kiraba? Era tekiba kuba nti ki yandisuze n'ewaffe Gayaza Road. Ffe twalina amaka amalungi ennyo. Very nice house. Manaye muzee wange yali mu bya politics ebyo. Kakati Uncle Patrick naye yalina amaka amalungi Komambuga. Mugamanyi, amanyi Komambuga. Very beautiful house. Naye nga ya kalina. It is the same house my mom takes the idea. Ne tugizimba ewa, ne bagizimba Mawanda Road. Munfuna bulungi nnyo. Gwe mukwano my dad had together with Uncle Patrick. Lwakuba gwalimu differences, or not of opinion, because the opinion counted where it counted. Muzeyi wange okuva muki mu KCC adde muki mu Express. Era yamuleetera abantu bangi nnyo abagagga banne ne basupporting ekintu kyaki kya Express ewangule. Kyenjagala obagamba ekirala nga tumaliriza nti the events that happened on the 23rd waayitawo hardly 2-3 weeks Museveni n'awamba. But from my thinking, kale katukiite bwe tutyo, Museveni yali yawangula dda. It was just a matter of time to bring the country at peace. It was a gradual process. Manyi waliwo ekintu kibaita transition, ne mukireeta mpola. So by November, okay, Express ewangudde, abantu bakkakkanye. December, by January, the government ekyuse. That the question is, what was the relevance of football at that time? Omupiira gwakola ki ekyaliwo ekyali relevant? Okay, there were losers mu kino ekintu. Kwanze nange neebuuza to date sente zaagendawo ezo zonna zaawulirawa? Awo sijja kgendawo awo. Waliwo sensitive information nyingi nnyo, naye nga maama wange ye yalina privy to a lot of information. Nga bwe yali mu gavumenti, yali mu development. Sente zaatambuliranga mu gavumenti, development corporation. Nezijja eno wansi, nezijja. Kambawo example, waliwo ekintu ekiza okukolebwa gavumenti n'ekisalawo, Minister of Finance n'akyendoosa, sente nezifuluma, nezitambula, nezijja mu bagagga, nezigenda kiggweerawo. Josh Mayanja Nkanji yasoma ne muzeyi wange. Yeah, he was from Budo. Yali mukuluko ku bo. Josh Mayanja Nkanji. Yeah. Naye ate kinewuunyisa nti yali minister mu gavumenti ya Lutwa, ate n'abeera minister mu gavumenti ya Museveni. Esooka, no, there was Ponciano Mulema. Professor Ponciano Mulema, mumujjukira? Awo nabona bayi mikono gya muzeyi wange. Abo bonna twabalabanga ku gundi ku Nile Mansions mujijjukira? Wakati yegundi ya Serena Hotel ne Sheraton. So emboozi bwe tubeebeera, eri randomized naye ababadde bafollowinga synopsis eno bayize ebintu bingi. People have learnt a lot. Nange ngize ebintu bingi nnyo. Kakati ba losers era nga bwe twabogerako last year losing big time. Big time. Nenga, I think it was more or less like sacrificial to bring peace in the country. There was need for peace, and of course the war had to come to an end. Olutalo lwa Museveni okay, they fought that war. It wasn't a proxy war. Nze nalaba ku lutalo bajja waka babayitanga banyanya. Bajja waka ne batubanga emirundi mingi nnyo. That's why we had so many dogs. Ne bayokya ennyumba one time, you know, ne bayokya emmotoka one time. Ichewandao. So a lot of people were pissed off. People were not happy with what was going on. So they would want anything for the better. However, the unfortunate thing, Bonaba Chirimu Ebiseere, they did not live to see the fruits. Wanga, Uncle Patrick died shortly. Edward Mugalo died shortly. My dad died shortly. You know, people passed away. Naye of course, for the best of everything, the kyentegeera kati kyemmanyi omupiira gwali na contribution y'amaanyi nnyo ku byaliwo. Muntegedde bulungi? Kegusi emboozi yange lwakuba kati tetuni tino. This is a divided debate of who was right, who was wrong. Was it right for the billionaires to have a syndicate and give Express a walkover? No, I can't get that. I can't phantom that. You know what I mean? Such faulting. Uncle Patrick Naye, he was more or less like at crossroads. Yali ayaganya omupiira gwalina engeri gye gwagatangamu abantu, the partisans, n'abagagga nabo bakolerangamu ebintu byabwe. But later on it became a toxic relationship. Period. Kyafuuka toxic. Gwe mupiira gwali ogwa syndicate. So next week we are summarizing the synopsis, and I think we shall touch on many things. Tujja kurappinga buli kimu nga bwe kitandise, nga bwe kitambudde, n'emboozi. Ebibuuzo bingi nnyo ebiba byembuuzibwa. Kiraba nti Kegusi mwe family yamwe baali bagagga, twali bagagga. Yeah, twali bagagga, ne kati tutwali bagagga. Nze omuzeeyi baatu investingamu. Let me talk about myself anyway. So, wanga nina sister bange, nze mukuru waabwe, ate nze mukuru mu family. Kiraba. Nze, my mom did a very big. Mujjukira ku Buganda Road nga yetera abasomesa amagi. She was a helicopter mom. Nga bayetera enkoko tulina ko awaka, whatever, spring very hatcheries and everything. Ebina baalimu. Ban coaching after school, every sports day. In Jabba Astoria Sports Day, every sports day. She was always there. That's why I couldn't fault academically. I know making sure that in summer bulungi nfuna 4 points ku P7. Nalina kugenda SMARC, saagenda SMARC. Nengenda Emweri. Era yantwala on my first day in Mweri on the 4th of May 1988. I remember that day. Era, can you imagine 6 years later ate yantwala ne Kenya to Maharishi International University. the only gap in between teyantwala ku Makerere High nze neetwala kyenabagaa nti naye let me give you this one before I go. Mr. Njagala taba kunkuba miggo ku assembly, my life would have been different. Era olunaku olwo njadde ojjukiza Kathe Nababi, Catherine Kiwanuka, Betty Magumba, Susan Nakimuli baabasalako enviiri ku assembly ne bankuba n'emiggo nze prefect kansala muzeeyi wange naye ne bamubuulira Mr. Njagala. Then my mom really was pissed off. Era atumala senior 6, she whisked me off to Kenya. Yali tasobola kundaba nga ndi Makerere because first of all baali bampadde course Makerere eya government, it wasn't law, they were giving me mass communication. Nabagamba ekintu ekyo, and she could opt to pay private sponsorship as well. N'agaana ne batunda farm ey'eka Kiri. Yeah. The Kakiri farm was sold. Ne tubasasula ssente mu university e Kenya. Munfuna bulungi nnyo. That's the story. Naye ssente omuzadde zaba atadde ku mmeeza ziba nnyingi nnyo. Nensoma nakomawo ate muzeeyi mulwadde ebitebe byonna mujjanjabye nkoze MURA neegobye tandise Paramount Investments nga ngaggawadde. That's it, and the story takes that direction. Kubanga nagaggawalira ddala nnyo ssente ze nakola ez'ekivubuka. I don't think nandikiise windfall. Kati njabba nyumiza ekirala ekisingira ddala okunzija e Uganda. And what really happened? Kubanga abantu abamu tebakitegeeranga Kegosi. I had become too powerful. Nalifuuse powerful. I had become too powerful. Ku myaka gyange business wise. Kubanga nina incidents bbiri ezantu manyi kakati Uganda yali etandise okukyuka nayo. Let me tell you the truth. Mwasoma Makayabu fish deal scandal eyo erimu story yange y'amaanyi nnyo. Njagibawa story eyo. Ngenda okulaba nga tekikyali worth it, and I was hemorrhaging a lot of money. Akanzija e Bulaaya nsome. And that was it. Naye ate story unraveling era ku YMC awo nga nkwana omuwala. Let me go to London. Ndabe ekiriyo. Tukwana. Namukolera ebirungi bingi nnyo omuwala oyo. I even paid for her university here. N'asoma. She's doing well. She's a nurse here. Naye tetwayagalana for the rest of it was mubimanyi byomu abaali ku speed aba ku wavelength ndala. We are all on different planets. Byebyo anyway guys, byebyo Kegosi byanyumizaako leero biri all over the place. Interesting enough, the synopsis is ending next week, so wait for next week people, and then you learn more of the other things. Kuba nagala kudda ku story na story njagala obbawo ye Kenya nga when living nga ngende Kenya, and what really befell of me. I had fallen in love with Kenya. Kenya banjagala, Abakikuyu banjagala, omwami n'ampa muwala we era nga please. I think twali tubondinze nnyo. We bonded with that family, with the gentleman. I will give you that story. Tujja ginyumya eyo story kira kuginyumya bunyumya. And how I left Kenya, the mama wange alwadde nenkomawo. And then she went off to America. No, yajja nanoonya Uganda. Of course, there was no contact we had. And then she went to America. That was it. Ate wengenda mu America ne munoonya mu 2001. Kati mbabuulidde nekyantwala mu America. Nayenga, of course, the family didn't know. We're gonna go there, people.